Welcome guys to
It's
another
hard to know who to
podcast.
trust. They might seem like friends, but you never know who's ready to stab you in the back. Today, we've got a list of anime where the main character gets betrayed but comes back more badass and stronger than ever. Welcome back to Animeology. This is a top 10 list you definitely don't want to miss out on.
Number 10, Dead Man Wonderland.
俺は生きたいんだ
A core storyline with a heavy focus on action and with some riveting and thrilling plot points that'll have you hooked. Dead Man Wonderland also looks to paint an interesting and riveting vision of a post-apocalyptic world, managing to balance the line of wacky, comedic, and serious perfectly. This is a series unlike any other. Set in a world torn apart by a massive anomaly earthquake that destroyed most of Japan, following Ganta Igarashi, a seemingly average middle schooler that survived the horrible event but has no memory of it. Until one day, a strange person covered in blood arrives at his classroom and slaughters all the students. The murders of Ganta's entire class is blamed on him, and he's sentenced to Dead Man Wonderland, a strange prison theme park that runs a special and cruel game on all the prisoners, forcing them to play a game in order to save their own lives. Dead Man Wonderland is a series that is interesting from many angles. The core story and arcs are captivating enough, as is the brilliant cast of characters and brilliant setting. The world building alone affirms Dead Man Wonderland as an anime series you need to watch.
Number 9, Blast of Tempest.
In an interesting world of whimsical dark fantasy, the core story and its heavy focus on some very tense and interesting mystery developments kept us coming back for more. Blast of Tempest sets up a very intricate and clearly defined mystery that a slow burn paces and reveals perfectly. Following a high schooler, Mahiro Fuwa, whose younger stepsister is mysteriously murdered alongside their parents a year previously, our hero is contacted by a stranger that strikes up a deal. The two team up and depart on an insane journey that takes them across the insane world. Although occasionally introducing some engaging characters, the main focus and chemistry really propels this series to new heights. The story unfurls and develops masterfully, and if they seem familiar, the Blast of Tempest is actually based on two extremely successful and renowned works of William Shakespeare. Hamlet and The Tempest both serve as a strong inspiration for the Blast of Tempest, but we do recommend reading the Shakespeare books for school instead of just watching this anime.
Number 8, 91 Days.
酒を盗む悪い子は死刑。
俺だ俺がネロだ
Legitimately, one of the most brilliant and classy anime series we've ever come across. 91 Days is a heavy crime drama and flawlessly executed period piece set during the Prohibition of 1928 in the heart of America. In a world of lawlessness and the mafia, we follow a young Angelo, a man whose family was murdered by the Italian mafia, and his quest for revenge. 91 Days kicks off 7 years after the grisly murder of Angelo's family after he returns back to the scene of the crime and befriends the son of the dawn, Nero. 91 Days is an intense tale with heavy action scenes and quick-witted dialogue. However, the heavy themes of revenge, death, friendship, loneliness, and morality are concepts you would not expect in an anime such as this. An interesting anime that is not hard to fall in love with, choosing to show the humanity of people rather than painting the classic good guy, bad guy situation. 91 Days will have you thinking about it, long after 91 days have passed.
Number 7, Konji Fasi.
大姐，老师没教过你，要么对各种通讯设备有机枪警觉吗？你刚才等上那家伙发送了一个微信定位。
Starting off as a classic high school fantasy anime, there is a reason that Kwanzi Fashi is considered one of our favorites. The story of a high schooler that gets thrown headfirst into a world filled with magic, with the goal of becoming the greatest magician that ever lived. In a dangerous world with magic beasts surrounding the outskirts of the city, we follow an MC that lives a life of emotional torture. From teachers and students that dislike him, a father that struggles financially, and even a stepsister that cannot walk, Kwanzi Fashi piles the pressure onto our weak MC. As a viewer, you can't help but root for the underdog in the hopes that he rises above all. But the story doesn't pan out as simple as we thought, as we follow some interesting twists and turns in this high-concept urban fantasy series that is really unlike anything we've seen.
Number 6. Kaji no Stigma.
やった時はてめえの最後だったな。俺の非力さをあの世で恨むがいい。
玄馬様
Great action with the supernatural backing makes this a brilliant series, but with the added romantic undertones guarantees that Kaze no Stigma is an anime series that you absolutely cannot miss. Based on a highly successful light novel series, Kaze no Stigma chooses to cover some extremely heavy themes, especially in relation to loss, rejection, identity, and various family issues. Following Kazuma Kanagi, the eldest son and heir of his family, outcast and exiled due to his lack of natural magical ability, his family considers Kazuma as absolutely useless. Returning after a short while, our MC comes back as a true badass. Having mastered another powerful branch of magic, Kazuma is back to make right with those that betrayed him. Not only his younger cousin, but also his spiteful and cruel father. Kaze no Stigma is an epic tale that had us rooting for Kazuma from the very first episode. With a strong focus and heavy themes that it deals with well, you can't help but cheer on our MC.
Number 5. Ajin Dini Homen.
行くな
A bit scary, but definitely worth a watch. Ajin is an interesting dark fantasy series with some supernatural elements, extremely thrilling with some genuinely frightening monster designs. This manga series has since been adapted into both an anime series and a well-received film. Following the story of Nagai, a classic high school student that discovered that he isn't as normal as he initially thought. After being hideously wounded in a traffic accident, Nagai learns that he's actually an Ajin. This demi-human type being that is immortal with insane regenerative powers. Ajin also have the ability to summon black ghosts, extremely dangerous ghouls that fight alongside the Ajin but are invisible to all else. We slowly start to learn the true story behind the Ajin and the human race, how they're considered dangerous by the general public and hunted and experimented on by the government due to their incredible levels of power. Their insane regeneration is harnessed by governments in order to produce an infinite amount of organs for transplants, amongst other horrific things. We slowly start to learn of the Ajin uprising and our MC that gets thrown into the middle of this raging shadow war, a balancing act with untrustworthy characters and a brilliantly twisting storyline.
Number 4. The Heroic Legend of Arslan.
傷つけはさせん
An awesome high fantasy anime series set in the foreign and exotic lands of ancient Persia. The heroic legend of Arslan is actually based on a famous historical tale, bringing to life some iconic historical characters and settings and adding a brilliant dark fantasy spin to it. The heroic legend of Arslan also takes the classic story to new heights. Starting off in a world very much grounded in reality, we slowly start to realize the existence of a very powerful magic and some very horrific beasts that roam the earth, from giants to ghouls to winged monkeys. However, the bulk of the story surrounds the war taking place between human armies, rival nations that deal with themes of royalty, slavery, and human rights, introducing concepts such as religious obsession and the horrors of a class-based system. Following the story of the crown prince of a nation divided, as he falls from grace and needs to gather support and rise the ranks until he's king once more. an epic journey with an interesting cast of characters and some very cool animation design. This is a series you do not want to miss out on.
Number 3, Tale of the Base.
Based on a highly successful video game, the Tales of the Abyss series has spawned an entire franchise, including a highly successful manga as well as a brilliant anime that captures some of the most intriguing aspects of the video game. As opposed to most games turned into animes, Tales of the Abyss is not a visual novel. Therefore, branching storylines are not an issue and the anime largely follows the same plot with a similar outcome. Set in a foreign planet called Aldrin, we are cast into an interesting blend of both sci-fi and fantasy. A tale of prophecies and epic battles. Follow the battle between the Holy Order and the military in a surprisingly mature and dark take on real-life politics. Our MC, Luc Fonfavre, is a simple teenager suffering from amnesia. Not really aware of his true powers and destiny, we slowly see our MC mocked and then learn who he truly is. A nice journey with an interesting cast of characters and set against the backdrop of this highly engaging battle. It's no surprise that Tales of the Abyss has become as successful as it is.
Number 2, Auno Exorcist.
A long-running and extremely successful manga series, Blue Exorcist has become somewhat popular amongst Western anime lovers. Either way, if you have heard of this but haven't checked it out, do yourself a favor and get involved. A really interesting and dark fantasy world that spins a highly enthralling and interesting adventure with some very interesting concepts of magic and the supernatural. The world of Blue Exorcist contains two main dimensions, both as a mirror and as a reflection. One dimension is filled with humans, whereas the other is ruled by Satan and filled with demons. Demons can easily travel between these dimensions, although it is considerably rarer for a human to do so. However, there are humans that have trained as exorcists, specifically aimed at destroying and defeating demons. An entire underground network of exorcists exists as we follow the tale of the Okumura twins, Rin and Yukio. Sons of a renowned exorcist, the two soon learn that they were actually the sons of Satan. The character developments and backstory only serve to get even more intertwining, intricate, and complex thereafter. A brilliant series that drip feeds interesting backstory and world building while set in an exorcist training academy.
Number 1, Garo Hono no Kokun.
Garo comes from an absolute icon within the anime and manga sector. Yasuko Kobayashi has extensive experience working on both Attack on Titan and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Garo has spawned both a film and multiple future series. An awesome and engaging dark fantasy superhero story with some of the most brilliant story arcs that really expand upon the incredible world of Garo. Hono no Kokuen is the first of these exceptional arcs and is set in the kingdom of Valiante. We're thrown into a world filled with chaos, a battle of knights and alchemists, and a story of kings and noblemen. Garo does not hold back, and we really see the complex and intricate pacing that Yasuko Kobayashi comes through in this brilliant series. Following the young Prince Alfonso as he seeks the assistance of the Golden Knight Garo in order to reclaim the throne of the kingdom that is rightfully his. Garo is a series that will have you hooked from every angle.